Kris.
I'm Jay.
I'm old before my time.
We are Double Down Dice. Thanks for coming to our channel. We made this video so that way you can see what our tastes are like. Because when I watch review videos, I almost never align with that person that's giving the reviews.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're gonna give you an idea of who we are, and when we give reviews, you'll realize that you should just listen to Jay the whole time.
Yeah, no. So we'll start with our worst nightmare, Ed over here.
Well, I guess we could talk about like how we made our list, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Just, I made my list. I don't think these games are the best games ever made, but they're my favorite games. They're the games that I like to play, and if I would rather have these on the table than all the others that are behind us.
For my top 10, what I did was I wrote down games that I could think of off the top of my head that I like a lot. But then I went in my game room at home and I looked around and thought of other games. And basically my top 10 is not necessarily the best games I've played or my necessarily favorite. Like there might be games that I like more than some on the 10. The reason I put the 10 here is because they are the 10 that I would never say no to.
Oh.
So my top 10 is games, just like my top movies, are things I would never say no to. I'm always down for. The reason I do this is because some games I like might take too long to take a day to play. So it's just like, I can't really put it on my list.
His number one. His number one's longer.
Yeah, number one is super long. We know kind of each other's number one because we know each other.
I've challenged them. I think with my list, it is, I think, the best games and the games I absolutely love and the games that have good replay value as well.
I know your top 3.
Yeah.
I see it right now. I'll bet you a sandwich.
Yeah. I'll buy you a sandwich if you
I
can
think
get
I
my
know
top
the 2.
Yeah. You can probably get the third in there somewhere. Anyway.
Cool. Let's dive in.
How about we just go boom, boom.
Okay.
Boom,
Sure.
like that.
Sounds good.
Number 10.
So, number 10 on my list is a new game. It came out at Essen 2017, and the game is Gaia Project. Now, the reason I put Gaia Project on the list is that years ago I played Terra Mystica, and I enjoyed elements of it. I didn't love the game. I didn't like that there was no modular map. I didn't like the fact that the cult track was completely useless, in my opinion, and like a completely different game. But Gaia Project fixed every single problem I had with Terra Mystica. It made the map modular. It plays well with 2. The factions are more interesting. The cult track is now a tech track and completely tied to the theme. And you use it to advance your racial, your race. And the other thing I really like, is, remember in the previous game, power, like you would expel, like get rid of power to do certain abilities.
Yes.
Yeah, in this one, you do the same, but you can actually add new power to your bowl. So before, you would just lose power and it'd be like, well, crap. But now you can actually do things to add power. So it fixed everything I had an issue with Terra Mystica. So when people ask, should I get Terra Mystica or Clans of Caledonia, the answer is always Gaia Project. Plus it's in space. So there's that.
It's in space.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to edit the video because I don't know.
It does play solo as well.
I can go next if you're still looking for your list.
Hold on. I think I deleted it. I found it. I had it.
Oh, this is like you should play a game with him. It's every turn. It's like, oh, come on.
It's not that bad.
It's actually true.
No, it's because he's smart. It's because he wants to play the game well. So I've got to compliment you.
That's one of those negative things, and now you're out of angle because we told you that.
Yeah. I was like this subtly. I'm like,
okay. Okay.
The thing is your turns usually take longer.
But that's fine. Like I said, because you want to play the game well.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I
won't look at.
Alright.
I'm looking elsewhere.
My number 10 is the first game designed by Richard. Apparently, if you are a
Richard who?
Dick.
Richard, we are Borg. On this board cube right here behind Kris, you have Command Colors Ancients, Memoir 44, Battler, all the same system, all the same designer. But the one that I like the most is probably Command Colors Ancients. I like the idea of having the leaders and how the leaders move back. It's a very easy, simple 2-player introductory war game. I know some people don't like the fog of war mechanic where you feel like it's just a lock of the draw, but I think the leaders and how they do the cards really mitigates that. So, because I know you said you liked, what was the other one more?
Well, I'm going to go leap straight into my number 10 because my number 10 is Battles of Westeros.
It's the worst one.
Before he interrupts and says it, I'm going to jump in, and that's an interesting crossover. Genuinely, number 10 is Battles of Westeros, which is
also designed by Richard Boyd.
It is a similar system, but I think the Battles of Westeros is the superior iteration of the mechanic. The fun thing is, I hate Game of Thrones. Like, I hate Game of Thrones. So I have to
That's
go on.
why it's out of print right now.
Yeah, I mean, other people prefer the other systems. I think so. The fact that I like this game, despite the fact that it's Game of Thrones, really goes around.
I will chime in and say that I played Battle Lore, the original, not Battle Lore 2, or 2nd edition, and I quite liked it. And I liked that there were people online who made dozens of hundreds of layouts.
So many.
And I was curious, do they have those layouts for Battle of Westeros?
They've got some. Well, they've got multiple maps and multiple resources.
I guess
it had enough. There's enough Battles of Westeros stuff out there that you don't have to.
Do you own it all?
I don't own all, but I'm thinking when I get round to
well,
it.
There's 2 things I don't like about the number 10, and I want to mention this because number 1, you have to glue all those pieces together, and that's your weekend. Like, that's you binging through Netflix for at least one whole season of a show.
Yes, but for a great game.
That's true. And you know what? To be fair though, like Commander Colors Ancients has that same problem with blocks and stickers. Because that's at least a season of TV right there. I didn't like putting the stickers on the game, but I liked playing the game. Yeah. Number 2 is I found that like when your leader dies in Battles of Westeros, it's very, very punishing.
Oh yeah.
Whereas it should be.
Whereas if you, but it's so
leader.
punishing that it almost seems pointless to continue playing the game because you've lost it already.
Then you can concede.
Well, frankly, I've managed to win games where leaders die. So if you become if you know what you're doing and you're smart as me, then
well, I found that this game is like you have your leaders die, and it's just points the other team gets. And while some of the cards become useless, I don't feel like you're as handicapped.
So here's the reason why I picked Battles of Westeros over the others. It's very simple and it's very recent. If you've heard it before, all of those games. All of the Commander Colors, Memoir, and Battle Lore all have a left, right, middle mechanic. So you can draw the cards. And what I don't like in games is having my choices constrained. And in that game, you can draw cards, and all your guys are on the left, and you've drawn a bunch of center and a bunch of middles. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? I can't do anything. I can't attack you. You're going to come and get me. I can't do anything. And that is supremely frustrating.
Have you played Ancients though?
I've played Ancients and I had that problem. I was like, oh.
Okay. But that's because they have leader cards.
Battle Lore 2nd Edition mitigates that with some magic. You can use magic and stuff to mitigate that. Battle Lore 2nd Edition.
Is symbol for magic.
Yeah. So, but the thing I like about the leaders is that it thematically makes sense. It's not just a bunch of cards that say left, middle, right. The fact that your leaders are issuing commands is like, well, that makes sense. And if your leader dies, then yeah, you're in trouble. But that's what would happen in real combat. So it's thematic as well as controllable, as in like if you've got to think about where your leaders are and you've got to think about how many orders they're going to issue and stuff rather than just getting a card.
Number 9.
But you're going to go your number 9?
Yep, my number 9. So the first time I played my number 9 was with Jay, and I had such a thrilling time. My nerves were twitching. And that game, again, a space game, is Cosmic Encounter. Oh. I know Ed doesn't like the game, but I will say...
Oh, you can say your bit and then I'll say my bit.
My thing
it's a second space game.
My thing... I love space. my thing is, with Cosmic Encounter, you need to play with the right people. Like, if you're not playing... If everyone at the table isn't bringing it to the table, with role-playing or just being a fun personality, you're not going to be having fun there. At all.
It is a negotiation game, so yes.
Yes. So what I like about it is there's all the races ever. There's a lot. There's
so many.
There's like 200 races.
It's certainly a classic. It's one of the first real board games.
Yeah, I mean it's had several iterations. I have the 3rd edition from Fantasy Flight. I just like that every time my friends come over, we drink beers, we play different races. We try not to repeat races because we have a
That's not a
Excel.
problem.
Well, yeah, exactly. We have a spreadsheet of races we've played, and
Wow.
we go through everything. And one of my favorite games.
Leave me in next time. I'll play the game.
Oh,
So
that
the-
sounds good.
So my bit is I've only played it once, so I can't. But the thing that nailed me was the asymmetric player powers. I'm not very good at negotiations, so because it's a negotiation game on it,
Well,
and I just got stiffed by the asymmetric. So that was just me whinging. So
Well,
the game is probably better than I think it is.
Here's the thing. I play with
Not for raging.
Hassie. That's my fiance. She's not good at negotiation either, but she still enjoys the game. And she's like, if you fight with me, he doesn't get a point. And they're like, yeah, that's a pretty good argument. I'm behind.
And also,
that.
if you fight him, I will.
You can sleep on the couch tonight. All right, dear.
Yeah. So that's my 9. I really like it. One of my favorite things is I played the Leviathan, and they can use their planet, which is worth 20.
Yes.
And I'm just like, Death Star. They're like,
so
get out of here.
It's so asymmetrical. You have to play it lots of times in order to get it, which is why the fact that I've only played it once is a massive.
Yeah.
I like that game because it's one of the games that puts the player first and the game second. You don't feel like the game is playing you.
Yep.
Like everything in the game is brought by the players, which I think all the games should be.
Yes.
That one made my
That is
short list.
100% true. You need to be, it's you over the mechanics.
That made my short list. It didn't make my top 10.
What's your number 9, Jay?
My number 9 is the second game designed by Richard.
It's just Richard, but it could be Richard anything.
It was also designed by Avalon Hill. At first, it came out in 1988. When I heard about it, it was out of print. Then in 2008, a BGG user by Daft Caden did a reskin of it with cool art, and now it's Merchant of Venus.
That's what I thought.
So around 2011, I spent at least a month finding tokens, cutting out stickers, printing everything out, making cards, and then 2012, Fantasy Flight republished it. So that's
His homebrew games are really good. He's really good at making them.
But it's my favorite.
root video for his homebrew game.
Yes, exactly.
But Merchant of Venus is my favorite pick up and deliver game. I really like that 3-part of the game, where the first part is everyone's exploring, trying to find where everything is. The second part is everyone's kind of finding out where the routes are going to be, or routes are going to be, and then the last part is the final.
That's fine. That's how I say it.
Oh, then I have to say routes then. And then the last third is just the big economic race, and it's my favorite pick up and delivery game. Like I actually feel like I'm a merchant going around this tiny little space area and just constantly making money.
Okay.
My number 9.
My number 9. My girlfriend, who isn't my girlfriend, but hopefully by the time I make another video, she'll be my girlfriend again. So we'll see.
Oh man, I'm
So
sorry.
it's fine. She says the
Feels
game plays
sad.
the same every time. Number 9. My number 9 is Suburbia. Suburbia is so incredibly smooth. It's nice and quick as well. I like it. So I like the fact that it's smooth and easy, and I can put it on the table with somebody who hasn't played a game before, and they can play a good game. But that doesn't negate the fact that it's strategic and complicated. It doesn't. It's not like a play it yourself game. You have to build it. You have to do well.
No, mechanically, I think it's
So smooth.
an excellent game. I really enjoyed Suburbia. But I guess the problem with Suburbia that I had was that in order to do really well in the game, you have to be aware of what the other players are doing, and that's hard to see because you're constantly leaning over and looking.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's much better with 2 players. 3 players is okay. 4 players is annoying. 2 players. It's a 2-player game.
It's a 2-player game.
It's basically I would just 3 players only if I have to.
There's
Choose
an
2-player
app
game.
now, I believe. Have
Yeah.
you played the app?
I have played the app. The app's fine.
No.
It's good.
Would you prefer that over the board?
No, because the board is so nice and smooth. It doesn't. There's hardly any setup. It's nice and smooth, and I like not staring at screens. So I would rather play a board game on a table.
Yeah. It's the closest to SimCity.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a sort of city building game of choice. I think they've done it perfectly. Every other city game is just like a lesser version of that. I think this is like
I disagree.
This for me is like, I don't see how you can make any better. I don't really need you to make any better because I can keep playing this. The replayability as well, because you can cycle through the tiles. But the main point of the game, the way you get more points in the game is through the objectives. So the game will always be different. So my girlfriend thinks the game plays the same every time. I don't, because the objectives are different and the tiles come out in different orders.
Is
And
this
also,
the only tile placing game on your list? Because you have told me countless times that you hate tile laying games.
oh yeah, well the thing about this is you can see all 6 tiles and you have to buy them, so it's not a straight up tile drawing game.
It's not top decking.
No,
He doesn't like the drawing of the...
I don't like the drawing or a random thing. The fact that you can see all the tiles,
Then it's okay.
yeah,
Not bad.
I will do.
very smooth, very
Note that on
interesting.
my iPad.
Number 8.
My number 8. Again, it's a game I think you've only played once and don't necessarily like, and that is Orleans. I like Orleans. Yeah, Orleans, however you want to pronounce it.
Well, it's in France, so it's got to be Orléans, right?
Orleans, yeah.
Games,
So the reason I like this one is, unlike a lot of games when you add more players, which just adds time, most of this game is resolved simultaneously. So we would all draw our pieces out, our workers out of the bag, and place them on our mat, our like tableau, to put them into action. And then we all do that simultaneously. And then, in turn order, you just resolve each of those actions. And the only time you would ever not do that one part simultaneously is if you want to try to take an action on the board and you're afraid someone might do it, so then you can resolve it in turn order. But it's, for me, it's pretty quick. Everyone I've played it with, I haven't played it with you, has enjoyed it. I know some people think or have the impression that there are tiles or buildings that are overpowered and allow you to advance rapidly, but I've played this game like 30 times now, and I can tell you or almost 30, around 20 something, but
I have never played it.
If you play it enough, you'll know that there are ways that you can still, you'll advance to at the bottom. There's a multiplier for victory points. Its maximum is 6, but if you play, like, one person can be the hare and get there fast, but the other person can still be a turtle and get there. Anyway, I like it because it's simple. It doesn't add more time to players.
I'll give a lot of any game that's smooth and quick. I will forgive a lot of things. So there's some things I like. The game is fine. I don't hate the game. I'll play the game with you. But the fact that it's smooth and quick makes up for a lot of sins.
Like
like
Cards Against Humanity?
That's not quick. I played that for 4 hours once. That was
I'm so sorry.
That was
Well,
like
I don't know how you. I don't actually know the rules for Cards Against Humanity.
It's not really a game.
Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. The one thing I will say though is the expansion Trade and Intrigue is a must. It turns the community board into a mean thing where you can like torture the other player, like take all their money, blow up their buildings.
That's his bit. He likes to be as mean as possible in games, which is why when in the last game we played, I just was trying. My first strategy wasn't to try and win. My first strategy was to try and defend myself against Kris, because I knew he was going to come and get me.
But I'm seldom aggressive. I just like the meanness being in the game.
That just tells you something about his character.
Number 8 is now. You could say every board game is an abstract game once you break it down to remove the theme and everything else. But number 8 is my favorites.
I'm trying not to look at the screen that's like right at my eye.
I thought you were doing some cool gang symbol stuff.
Doing James.
Number 8 is my favorite abstract game. Usually when a new abstract game comes out, I'll always use this as the base. Like, is it better than this game? No? Well, then I'll just keep playing this. And that is Tuluva. It came out in 2006. I think 2-3 years ago, there was a deluxe edition. You can put it in this giant wooden case. And then this year, they're coming out with a new expansion. And it should be easy to find if you're looking to purchase it. I really enjoy this game. It has tiling. Sorry, Ed.
No, it's okay. Actually, this is one of those games where the tile you place, it doesn't really matter, because what you're actually doing is putting dudes on the map. So that's I can forgive its tile.
No, because you're not restricted about the tiling. You're basically you're just building the map.
Yeah.
And then you can put your guys anywhere. And it's very cutthroat. It's really good. And once it doesn't take too long to master. And some of my best gaming experiences have been that game. My favorite one was a 4-player game, and due to the turn order, I won. But the next person would have won on their turn, and that person would have won on their turn, and this person would have won on their turn. And it was a very, very close and tight game. And it's still my favorite abstract game.
Right. My number 8. My number 8. My number 8. You might think he's put a Games Workshop. Surely not Games Workshop. But that tells you something that I had a bunch of people who really like Warhammer 40k, and they all tried to sell this game. So if you want to buy Horus Heresy as the game, if you want to buy Horus Heresy, people try to flock it because none of the 40kers like it, because it's not like 40k at all. They buy it and they think, oh, this is going to be like.
Is that why you like it?
Well, what I like about Horus Heresy is its battle mechanic. And I think this is such a smart battle mechanic. If they had this in any war game, it'd be brilliant. I'd love this in any war game. The battle mechanic is you draw a number of cards depending on the abilities and number of troops, and your cards are either attack or defense. So you take turns going at each other. So you choose to either deploy your cards as attack or defense. And there's also some special abilities in the card. But that's a very simple game mechanic. I'm surprised it hasn't come out. And it's just such a nice, interesting way of resolving a combat. I'm not a fan of the dice chucking games, so dice chucking combat. So 40k is just get a sack of dice and.
Is that Fantasy Flight? Is that
Games Workshop?
Yeah.
It's Fantasy Flight.
Fantasy Flight did. Okay, yeah.
Yes, because they had the license for a while.
Yeah.
And
so
that
it's
was
really solid. So it's a really good, interesting war game with all sort of interesting things you get in a war game with that magnificent battle mechanic.
Do you own this one?
James does.
Okay.
It's actually on my wardrobe because I keep nicking it from James.
I would like to play with you because my friend bought it from Doug, and then my friend sold it because he was because he was leaving Taiwan. I don't think he sold it to James.
So, like I said, it should be cheaper because a bunch of 40kers don't like it, but I love it. It's my favourite war game. Okay. It's brilliant.
And it doesn't have dice in it.
It has no dice.
Because FFG went through a phase of like, we're gonna have a war game and you're not gonna roll dice, but here's some cards.
Yeah, but that card
probably
mechanic,
was in that phase.
because you can choose to do with the dice, you can't really choose to do what to do with it. So the fact that you can choose to attack or defend seems quite straightforward, but it's just really nice. Really solid game. Horus Heresy, my number 8.
Number 7.
My number 7 is Concordia. I really like. Yeah, what I love about Concordia is the card play. I think it's like one of the smoothest systems I've encountered. I like that you play a card to do something. Obviously, it sounds really terrible.
Play a card to do a thing. Whoa!
What I mean is that we all start with the same deck. I can do the card. I play the card to take the action, but you could play a card to copy my action.
Yes.
So if you've already spent that card on a previous turn and you don't have it, but someone else does, you could then copy it, which I think is a really cool mechanic. And that works even for cards that you don't own. So if someone purchases a card and you want that ability, you're like, pop, all right, I copy that ability.
Yeah.
What I also like is there's this action economy that's really smooth. So if I need money, I can keep taking actions, and then I play the card that allows me to pull all my cards back into my hand. And when I do that, I get a bonus of siesters, the coin currency. I get that back.
I get great game. This is actually a great game.
No, I just siesta sleeping. That was it.
No, it's
good game.
not.
I haven't played it.
It's a really good game.
As soon as I put the card down, X number of cards over the minimum, I get money. And the money helps. And I also like that you have a warehouse that you need to upgrade by like removing the pieces there so that you can put more stuff in your stores. Also, the cool thing is all the maps really do change up the game.
Yes.
There's a X number of players can play this map and get in each other's way. There's like a really small map called Corsica, which I love. It's for like 2-player. So this is actually a game that, although you could play a larger map with 2 people, I think it benefits that there are different maps for different types of players. Like my Hassie and I, my fiance, we like playing on the smaller maps because we like to be able to block each other.
Yeah, it's 2 people.
Yeah,
you want that close.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really cool. And they just released 2 new maps, Egypt and I forget what the other one is. And I've heard that there's some new mechanics in there, so I'd be
Yeah.
interested in trying those. But anyway, like I said, really like Concordia just because the card play is very smooth.
Yeah, and it came out recently, so it should be a fairly easy game to find.
I think it came out in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's there aren't that many games that have that mechanic of like you have a hand of cards and all your actions are these cards, and then once you spent them all, you play one of those cards to pull them all back
Yep.
up in your hand.
That's what I really like about it.
Yeah.
That's what I like the most. I find that such an. I wish more games had that.
There are a few, like was it
Kind of like the Horus Heresy card driven. Why doesn't somebody copy this mechanic and put it in another game?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are. There are like thousands of games on BGG.
You'd think.
There might be. Anyway.
If you know, please post in the comments.
Yes.
So that we can play
so I can play that. So that's my number 7, Concordia.
What's my number 7? My number 7 is my favorite city building game. I like it better than Suburbia. Sorry. Came out in 2009.
He's wrong.
And in 2015, 3 years ago, they had a big box edition. When it first came out in 2009, no one really talked about it. And then when the big box edition came out 3 years ago, everyone started talking about it. And that's Carson City. It's my favorite worker placement game because it's cutthroat. Usually in a worker placement game, oh, I'm going to go here. And now Ed can't go here. Boo hoo hoo. But in this game, no, Ed can go there. And they can fight. And it's great. So any place is up for contention.
I love Carson City. It's a great game.
Yeah,
Anytime, love it. It's great.
And the expansions that came out 3 years ago have added so many more roles to the role selection. Because it includes like role selection, it includes like city building, it includes worker placement.
Yeah. And
it's highly interactive, which is what I like about, which is what I don't like about worker placement games. Because usually it's, oh, you go there, I can't go there. I guess I'll go here.
There is a lot going on in that game. It's really, like you say, it's a lot of mechanics. But it's actually smooth as well. Mm-hmm. It's smooth and quite relatively easy to pick up. Just really pushes a lot of buttons.
We should have a smooth scale, like
smoothness scale,
like baby bottom to
to Ed
to like melted smoothie or something like.
It's one of the first games too that I played where the theme really matches the game.
Yeah.
Like it's like I think a lot of people just paste on themes on games, and I really detest that. Or people think that themes aren't important, but they are. I think they are because it adds intuitiveness to gameplay.
Yes.
Like, oh, I can do this because that makes sense because
hence my Battles of Westeros thing.
Yeah, like oh he goes there, well I'm gonna go there and contest that spot with him because I have all these handguns.
I will say that while theme can be enjoyable, it's like my least important measure of a game.
I can't disagree.
Okay.
And we'll see later on.
So my number 7. My number 7 is an absolute classic. These guys know I love it. I'll do another video where I'll tell you which one's the best. It's Ticket to Ride.
Oh, dang it! That was my number 3. I thought that was gonna be your number 3.
Oh wow! Ticket to Ride. I'll do it because I love this game so much. I have all of them. I'll do a video of all of it.
All of them, really?
I'll do I have all of them. So I'll do which one's the best. I'll tell you one.
I'll
tell you what's the worst. Rails and Sails doesn't work. Rails and Sails is terrible. All the other maps.
I don't think anyone likes it.
It's expensive because it's a big box.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because it's Rails and
yeah,
Rails,
not enough trains.
Sails, not so much.
Yeah, so apart from that, that's terrible. I don't really like Pennsylvania because I think Airlines Europa is the same as that, but all the maps are good. And all the maps are interesting, and there's different maps with different numbers of players. So I wanted to jump in and say that because Ticket to Ride has that. There's 2-player maps. There's maps for more. There's gentler games. There's meaner games. So you can play this with a 5-year-old, or you can play this with a wargamer. And it's extremely simple, but there's a beauty in its simplicity.
My favorite map that I've played is Nordic countries.
Yeah, no,
because I like how tight it is.
It's a solid 2-player one. Yeah.
And I think that it's a brutal 3-player map though, because you can just cut someone out of their now I'm losing 17 points.
So I'm gonna make another video where I tell you which ones I think is the best. So I'll wax lyrical about it then.
I actually really like Pennsylvania. I like Pennsylvania. I like that stock thing. I like that you're forced to play early.
Well, like I said, I think Airlines Europa does the same thing but better. I mean, it's a different game. Airlines Europa isn't. It's the same designer.
Not trains.
It's planes, not trains. But no, it is quite a different game, but it does the stock thing, very simple stock game, better. So.
Number 6.
Number 6 for me is a game originally from Spielworks, and it was re-released or reprinted through Capstone Games. Which game is it? It's not the Cole trilogy. It's Arkwright. So I haven't actually played Arkwright a bunch because
I've played Arkwright.
You haven't actually played it before.
No,
It just looks brilliant.
I have. It is. I think it's beautiful. A lot of people don't. They call it spreadsheets the game. But no,
That sounds. I think that sounds like that's your taste in summary on games.
Yeah,
Spreadsheet the game.
Yeah, I'm like, oh great, economic. No, so
Has a spreadsheet?
So the thing is I haven't played it enough because I had until recently I didn't own a copy because Capstone was getting ready for its third printing. Well, the third printing of Arkwright, their second printing. Anyway, what I like about it is that it takes place during the Industrial Revolution in England, and you are...
That's my most favorite time for you.
And you're working on 4... You're like basically moguls, and you have shares for your company, like your stock portfolio. At the end, the winner is the one who has the best portfolio, because you can buy other people's stock, right? Okay, so what you are running is 1 to 4 factories. There's 4 possible factories. You need to be running at least one, right? There's food, utensils, clothing, and like luxury goods. And what you do is you hire workers to operate your factories, right? And that allows you to produce more of that good. And then based on what you want to sell that item for is the demand. But here's what I really like. If the value of your good is worth 8, but you set it at 6, that means you have a demand of not demand, but
profit margin.
No. The 2 would be like people's interest in it. Okay, like it's sought after by a level of 2. If someone does 3, they're going to be able to sell their goods before you.
Oh,
okay.
I understand what you're saying.
And
I do, and because I listen.
But appeal. Okay, I'll wrap it up real quickly. Anyway, basically, what it's valued at and what you decrease it by is its appeal. The differential is the appeal. The person who has the higher appeal gets to sell their goods first.
That is interesting.
Here's the real interesting though. The workers that are in your factory. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Listen. No, you assass. The workers that are in your factory are part of what equals the demand, because the workers need to be working and have money to be able to buy things. So if there's fewer workers in play, the demand is lower.
That's a nice thematic touch.
So when you sell the goods, you sell it in order of appeal, and if you get to the point where you don't have enough appeal to get the demand, you basically have these goods and you can't do anything with them unless you have a warehouse. So they're thrown away or they're stored in your warehouse.
Not the people. The people aren't thrown away.
No, this should be. You can actually fire your workers too. You can replace them with
better workers?
No, with machines like spinning jennies and stuff. Just get rid of. You are replaced by a machine.
So he's mean not just in the game sense, on a personal I hate
within the game. He's mean to the components of the game.
You can only be mean to your factory workers, but
only if they're poor. Yeah.
Poor.
Yeah, poor. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, whatever. Number 6, Arkwright. You guys suck. Let's play it.
Sounds fascinating.
My number 6 is an older game. It's one of my favorite 2-player games of all time. Is Summoner Wars, which is the game that made Flat Hat Games, which is now Asmodee.
Owned by
Asmodee. Summoner, I think Colby Doc used to run a website that he's a designer of the game. He ran a website for Hero Clicks, or I've never played that game because it was a beast to set up. But he made a very simplified 2-player. No, I thought the maps were kind of cool. But he made a very simplified 2-player miniatures game, but with cards. So it's not really a minis game because there aren't minis, but there are cards that. So, anyway, I really like it. It's a good game.
It's enjoyable. I enjoy it.
What I really like about it is that
it's smooth and
so
quick.
simple.
Yeah.
Like I could teach that game in 3 minutes, and the rules, the steps for the game are on the card that's right in front of you. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then I'm done. And then games last anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour. Some of the best gaming memories and experiences I've had have been in tournaments of that game. And it's a cross-cultural game. So like I played it with local Taiwanese people who didn't speak English very well. Even though my Chinese is okay, like we were still able to play and have tons of fun. And each faction, while some are weaker than others, they all play very, very, very differently. Like the dwarves feel like dwarves, the goblins feel like hordes of goblins spreading around. The elves feel very brittle, but very, very powerful. And
I like the cave goblins. I think it is. They have a monster that needs to gobble something up at the end of the turn, and like if it doesn't have something to devour, it's like removed. So you have to like.
You're such a bad person.
No. What I like though is that like if I can't get to your guy,
then I have to kill one of my children.
I have to maneuver my goblin there and be like gobble the goblin, gobble, goblin. So I like it. I mean, it's a good game. It's enjoyable.
All right.
In your face.
No, I like it. Okay, my number 6. This is going to take apologies for the intro, but so Pandemic is an absolute classic, and I love
10
the
years
game.
old this year.
Yeah, I love the game. I love playing the game. I'm looking forward to season 2
of the Legacy.
Matt Leacock made another game which is extremely similar and is superior. I think that Thunderbirds is better than Pandemic.
Okay,
I'm a puppet.
I'm gonna make a big long video about why I think Thunderbirds is objectively better than.
Okay, but I do have a question. Is it one of those things where the theme is something you grew up with Thunderbirds, so like it speaks to you on a different level?
No, because I think mechanically, objectively, I played it with you. You had no interest in the theme, and everything was sort of all the moving parts.
Fun,
everyone that played with it gets all the moving parts. It's not like the theme had to speak to you to get it.
Okay.
Mechanically it features. It's quite similar to Pandemic, but it's superior. Essentially,
ships.
Well, essentially,
because you have puppets.
Essentially, you can't get stiffed by the cards. In Pandemic, you know that something's coming, but you don't know quite when it's coming. In Thunderbirds, the mechanic is the disasters, which is the disease, and they're laid out at the bottom, and you can literally see what's coming, so you can plan ahead.
Yeah.
And whilst it's nice to be surprised a bit in Pandemic, sometimes it's just like, oh, we lost just because the cards, and that's just annoying.
So is it possible to win every single game of Thunderbirds?
No, it's quite difficult.
Mathematically possible, because in
It is
Pandemic, it's mathematically impossible to win certain games.
Because the disaster card combinations plus the track at the top, there's another thing you have to do at the top of the game, which means no.
You probably have like a 95%.
If you play it perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm sure
so. I wouldn't say 95. I would say less than that. So Thunderbirds is not an easy game. It is if you play it at the easier levels. So in fact, you can appeal to the kids as well.
No, I meant like 95% possible to win. You just still have to play well.
Yeah. Well, no. Even then, there's a bunch of things going on. I'll do a proper. But mechanically, like I said, the fact that you can't just be totally owned by the game just because. It's one of those things in Pandemic where you draw the card and you're just like, oh, come on. We couldn't do any better than this.
I think that's the first co-op game that we have on the list.
And I will say that the entire time I played it, I just pictured I was playing Team America. and I know you keep saying puppets, but the puppets literally are like the game of life pieces getting put in ships and flying around.
It is.
Well, I mean,
it is. The fact that all the little ships.
Team America was like modeled after Thunderbirds.
Of course, yeah.
So
so the IP you can take it or leave it. You can if you like.
Is there a sex scene in the game?
There should be.
There should.
Yes, there should. Anyway,
everyone has a fetish.
Number 5.
All right, number 5 for me is well. People define it as a worker placement and other things like bidding systems. So it's both really, and that is Keyflower. I really like Keyflower. I don't know if either of you have played this yet. Maybe?
Nope.
So Keyflower is it's played over 4 seasons, and each season there is tiles that come out, and there's also ships that have workers.
Tiles.
Yeah, but the workers come in 3 colors. There's yellow, red, and blue. And what happens is the tiles that are in the middle of the board, you can do the action on the tile, or you can bid for those tiles. And those bids, if you win the tile through a bid, it will come to your home, and you add it to your road. But the way that it works is, it's brilliant in its simplicity, and it can, again, be mean if you want to. But
and you want to.
Yes, of course. Each tile, if you're taking the action or bidding, you must increase the next bid or action by 1. So if I do the action with a yellow guy on this tile, I put 1 yellow guy. The next person who wants to do that action has to put 2 yellow guys. Got it? And then the next one would have to do 3 yellow guys, because 1 more than 2.
Yeah. It's the same.
But the most it can hold is 6 workers. So at most it can only take 3
Can
actions.
you play with 6 people?
Yes, but you can't all take that action. Only 3 people at most could take it. But the thing is you could start with 3 people on there, 3 yellow, and then you can't outbid that. You've taken it, because the most you can put on there is 6, and you must always go up 1 more than the previous person.
I see. So you can't have 4 and 3.
No, you can only
7.
have 6, or and the same thing with bidding. It works the same way. You can put you can bid more than 6, but you basically put the people down. But here's the cool thing: the workers actually are the economy. So if I put a yellow guy there, you must bid with yellow. You must play with yellow.
Interesting.
If I do red over here, same
Is this
thing.
easy to get?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get. There's a lot in the Richard Breeze key system, but what I really like is that there's an action that allows you to convert one of your guys to a green guy, and the green guy has no equivalent except other green guys. So if I want, I can bid with a green guy, and no one can outbid me because, well, you don't have a green guy. And the other thing is, all the bid people that you use, they go back to the bag, they're removed. But whatever tile you win in the bidding, you get the workers that were placed on it.
Have you played any of the other key games? Because he has so many key games.
He has several. I haven't played any other ones because the one that everybody says is really good, Key Market's been out of print, and that's the one I want. The Keyflower farmers and Keyflower merchants, I think is what it's called, merchants, are just expansions for Keyflower.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's Cathedral and other ones. There's a bunch. Anyway, I like Keyflower because I like that idea of taking actions or bidding on them, and the color that is chosen first dictates what color can be used in that space. I think that's awesome. Keyflower.
My number 5. I think when I first got into the main hobby, when I first discovered BGG, and I played a lot of games, the heaviest game that people talked about was Twilight Imperium. And when I finally played it, it was long. It took it's a destination game where you have to plan the date to go and meet and play it. Mm-hmm. And then the game, then in 2011, 7 years ago, Eclipse came out, and it played it in less time. The ships were more customizable. I felt like I was doing more.
It's a completely different game.
It is a completely different game, and I liked it more, and it is my number 5. It is difficult to get now because it's been out of print for a very, very long time. I've seen I saw on eBay some of the expansions going up to
the expansions are out of print.
Yeah,
the main game, I think they're still bulk.
But they're reissuing it, right?
Next in April of 2018, there'll be a Kickstarter.
There you go.
For the second edition, but who knows what the second edition will look like? Because everything they've given out has been kind of there. Yes.
I'm just terrible at it. It's nothing like people say this. It's nothing like TI at all. It's not. So.
I will
think
say
the
that
comparison is that they're both in space.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, Eclipse is fine. I'm just not very good at it.
It's less of a dudes on a map and a war game. It's more of an economic.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Game, and that's what I like. I really like that balance between action and economy, and balancing out your empire by if you expand too much, then you have to be able to pay for it, otherwise you will collapse. Which is exactly what happened to him.
Yeah, that's my last. I almost don't want to play again. It was so epic because Joel attacked me in one place, and gradually my entire economy fell apart. So I was had to take that cube off. And it was so funny, and I was like, oh, it's hilarious.
Because he expanded himself and did so many actions, and I'm thinking to myself, can you pay for that ad? He's like, yeah, I got it. He's like, are you sure?
And then it collapsed. It was beautiful. And then I had absolutely one resource left and no planets, and I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah,
Brilliant. It was such a good gaming experience to just be lose that hard. It was just brilliant. I almost don't want to play
I've
again.
never seen that ever happen.
The entire economy fell apart.
No, it's actually funny. That happens. This was on my short list. It probably would have been number 10, but Gaia Project can get to the table easier and plays better with 2 than Eclipse. That's the only reason it's not on there. But the thing is that we played it with this new guy, and we were telling him, stop taking actions, and he was like, why? I was like, because I'm looking at what you have, I'm looking at where you're going, you will not be able to afford anything. He's like, yeah, this planet here, he's like, when I win this combat, I'm going to be able to get it. I'm like, yeah, you're going to put a token there to claim that area, and you're going to be able to flip 1 colony ship to get that economy. I was like, but by doing that, you're also costing more money for your empire.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm like, hey, whatever, go ahead, let's fight. And then he did, and he collapsed back to 3 planets. And then on the next turn, I took 1 planet because I'm like, I want that economy. And then the other person took his other planet, and we left him on 1 planet. And the entire game, he just kept trying to like kick us out, and we were like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah. So when you play Eclipse, play it properly. I think the real moral of that story is just play it properly.
Yeah,
I think it's a great game. It's
just don't overspend.
I think it is. Is it my number 1? Yes, it is my number 1 4X game.
Okay.
Because I don't see it as a. I don't see it as a civilization game.
No.
Because there's no passage of time.
No.
It is, I think, the best 4X game that I've
It
ever
is
played.
my favorite 4X. As
Okay,
well.
mine. I'm gonna count.
Go ahead. What's your number 5?
You know what his number 1 is.
Yeah,
Okay, number 5 is a series of games, and a series of games that I haven't played enough to tell you exactly what the best one is. So I'm just going to say the series. My number 5 is Coin. The Coin games are my number 5. Is my number 5. Like I said, I haven't. We'll do a review once we play all of them lots.
More on this later.
More on this later. Yes. So we'll just move on. Coin is an area control game, but with event cards and asymmetrical factions. Extremely asymmetrical. It's counterinsurgency. So you have the guys with all the resources and the guys without.
And that's what COIN stands for.
Yes.
Counterinsurgency.
Yes.
Published by GMT Games. There's only like 6 or 7 of them, I believe.
No, there's a lot more. There's
6, 7.
And there's more coming as well.
9. I think Gandhi's been delayed, but 9.
Okay, that's not a lot.
9 of them are out.
But I really like it's heavy and complex, but actually it's quite smooth. It's like a smooth. So Labyrinth it feels almost simple. Labyrinth is extremely dense and.
It's another. That was like
Coin is so smooth.
Labyrinth is the proto Coin for those that don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, more on Coin later.
Yeah. So carry on.
Maybe because
You don't have a favorite of COIN?
Not yet. No.
Because you own a Distant Plane though.
Yeah, I liked Distant Plane. I liked it.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is it's a GMT game.
Dun dun dun.
Old people playing board games.
It's 2-player only, and that game is
I'm
1960, The Making of a President.
Wow.
I like this game a lot, and the reason I really like it is that my fiance, she's not she likes playing games, but she usually doesn't like when I get a new game like say, oh, I want to play that. It's usually like poking and prodding, getting it to the table.
I don't know what you guys do.
But,
but
with 1960, I was like reading the rules and flattening out the map with my plexiglass top. And she came by and she's like, oh, that looks interesting. So we played 1960 and she really liked it. She calls it the President's Game. She doesn't actually call it 1960. But that's fine because that's what it is really. So for those of you that don't know, 1960 is you are either JFK or Richard Nixon and you're trying to win the presidency.
The 1960 election.
Yep, 1960 election.
So I think it's the best political game. For a
I
policy
haven't
game.
played a ton, but yeah, I'd probably agree.
I played it a ton. I have the older version. I love it. It's really good. It has my favourite mechanic of drawing cards and playing events off the cards. So
yeah,
historical references.
It's done.
My favourite game mechanic.
I'll just go quickly. It's a card-driven combat game. You have cards.
Not really.
Well, I mean, it's under that title of card-driven combat. Is it like CDP, card-driven political?
I'm just picturing Nixon. I'm just picturing Nixon and Kennedy in a boxing match.
I'd pay to see. Oh wait, no, we can't.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you could put bones in a boxing ring. Anyway, you play the card to do either like campaign point actions, to put cubes on the map, to take to win that state, or you can actually do the action on the card if it's for your candidate. And there's a debate round, and then finally there's election day. And anyway, I just really like the game. We do have a playthrough. I will put the link in this video.
Here.
At the bottom.
Anyway, I love it.
It's a great game. I really like it, and I think G&T's like retro art style that they did, or whatever, the rotoscoping, I absolutely love it.
I prefer the old version.
I actually prefer the Z-Man version as well. But even though the GMT art, the retro-looking art, is very thematic and it looks really neat.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of like the Z-Man one more.
I think people like the Z-Man map more, and like the tokens that are on the map. I don't really like the tokens on the GMT one, but whatever. I mean, that's neither here nor there. That's my number, what the hell is it? 4. 1960, The Making of a President.
Wow. Number 4 for me is the oldest game on my list. I think the oldest one I had was Merchant of Venus, 1988. The most recent is Eclipse in 2011. This one came out the same year I was born. Now
1950.
1940.
1940.
I'm not that old.
You look it.
It came out in 1979. That's Dune. I think Dune is my favorite book of all time. When I first came into the hobby and I found out there was a Dune game, I was like, oh, wow. And then I found out, oh, it's out of print, and they're all like $300, $400. And but if you like Cosmic Encounter, it's made by the same people who designed the original Cosmic Encounter. In fact, they made Cosmic Encounter, and they said, well, let's make another game, and they made Dune. It plays up to 6 people. I would probably recommend 3 to 6. I think it plays best with 6. I made it in 2011, and I cut out all the pieces. I printed out all the cards. I spent time. It took me about a month. And then in 2011, Fantasy Flight came out with their own version of it.
Yeah. So what do you think? So what do you think of Rex?
Rex takes place in the Twilight Imperium universe.
It does. It's not a dramatically different game. So
no, it's not.
If you can't get a hold of Dune, play Rex, and you want to play Rex.
If you do want to buy the game, I would say try Rex, because it's easier to find. And if that is something that you do like, but you like the Dune theme more, go to BGG. There are tons of redesigns.
Yeah.
The one that I have was by this Russian guy, Ilya, I apologize, Boranovsky, I believe. He made this beautiful Art Deco design. It's absolutely gorgeous. His
do-up of it is great as well.
Yeah, when you put it on the table, it's beautiful to look at. I like it a lot. It's a long game, but I like it the same reason I like Summoner Wars, where some of my favorite gaming memories of all time have all been there. It's a game that generates stories. Like there are certain games where I don't remember like who won, but I remember certain things that happened. That's where we got the term in our gaming group, the moral victory.
No,
where Andy won, and then I had predicted him to win in that round, and I go, actually no, I predicted you to win. I manipulated you to win in this round, so I won the game.
He was so mad. I won the moral victory. It was hilarious.
And he sulked on the couch for like a good few minutes.
I can't believe.
It's also the game that we're.
So this game can be mean, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's very mean.
Count me in.
But I would say definitely give it a try. There are lots of great videos already on YouTube, and you can definitely check them out.
Right. So that's the possibly the longest game. It's an incredibly long game. Like I said, smooth, quick games, and I also like that.
Feels old.
The mechanic of drawing a bunch of cards, and then you have multiple choices with those cards. My 4th favorite game is Glory to Rome.
What? I thought that was number 2.
No.
I don't even know who you are.
I thought Glory to Rome is number 3.
I mean, it's just you have the fact that you can do multiple things on the card. The card has 3 functions.
Yeah.
So I didn't kind of realise this. I played it so much. I tried to teach it to a friend, and said the card actually has 3 functions. So that you can the things you can do, the choices you have are incredible. What you're doing is interesting. Your engine that you build is interesting, and it's smooth and it's quick as well. So if you get beaten, if you get your bottom handed to you, you can just play it again. The beauty of it. It takes about half an hour, so you can just play it again. And then you play again and again, then you get better at it.
It's the first game that I played, or I can remember in the hobby, where you had multifunction cards.
Yeah.
where like it at the top has information, the bottom, the side, you can flip it over. There's other information.
But it's not. It won't blow your mind. It's not.
No.
It is out of print, but
No, it's not. That's a new one.
no, that you can't get that.
You can't get this anymore.
No, that's extremely expensive.
If you could find an unopened box of this, like I think it's like $300 or
Yeah.
at least 100
Wow.
for unopened.
I have the funky one that looks like Asterix. In fact, I will post the pictures. I went around. I love this game so much.
This is amazing.
I went around Rome, finding as many of the cards as possible. I'll post this on the group, and taking a picture of me holding the card in
At
the
the location.
particular at the
Nice.
location.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And there's one particular, the Casa Praetoria, which is where the Roman soldiers lived, where he's.
What?
I need to squat a bit. Where he's doing that, and I did that pose
Nice.
at the Casa Praetoria. Yeah, so there's like
I'll just
30
insert
different locations.
some of those in this video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So that I went through as many of those locations.
That was
as I could
fantastic. I
find.
love that you did that.
So yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
like I said, it's out of print, but they kind of reskinned it. It's not the same game, but Matinai is the re-theme of it, where you're
Well,
constructing.
the old version is it was a Cambridge Game Factory game, so that's kind of low quality. I kind of liked it for that. So I assume that you could get
Board games were very different back then.
Yeah,
They
so-
aren't the big beasts that they are now.
So you can probably get a copy of that for people will be selling that second hand. Not very much. Anyway, love it. Glory to Rome, my number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me, I did want to do the same thing Ed did a little bit ago, and that was put coin as the system on my list. But I told myself, don't be a jerk.
So I'm a jerk.
No,
Is that what you're
I
saying?
told myself to not be a jerk. So I committed to one title.
you
from
tell
the-
yourself that more often.
But then I wouldn't be playing those games. The coin game I chose to be my favorite currently of the ones I've played to completion at least once.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's quite long, quite complicated.
I don't know what it is. What
You
is
have-
it?
But-
I know it is.
Yeah, I think everybody would know that knows me. It's Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre.
And the reason I picked Cuba Libre is I think it's the one until Twilight, until Colonial Twilight, which is a 2-player only coin game. Until then, I think Cuba Libre.
That's the French occupation of Algeria.
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct. Until that game was released, I thought that the best one that I've seen and played around with was Cuba Libre for 2 players. I really, talking more at length about the coin system, I really like that the event card is shown, but you see the next one, so you kind of can decide
like
if you want to
role-playing.
take an action in that round. And for those that don't know, everybody's available, and then you can take an action. But by
Eligable.
and by taking
That's so weird.
and by taking one of the 3 slot actions or
It's not how to
passing.
pronounce it, just how we pronounce it when we play it.
Yeah, exactly. You choose one of the actions, and by doing that, you force this next player to have to take the coupled action. So there's 3 coupled actions, and I like that so much because I might not want this event to be played by the other player, but I kind of want to hurt that other player. But if I yeah, exactly. But if I take the action that gives me like a small thing but doesn't give me the full thing, it's
Yes, my number 3. So I can do this relatively smoothly because one of the reasons I like my Race for the Galaxy is my number 3. The same Race for the Galaxy pushes a lot of the same buttons as Glory to Rome. So
It's the same game.
they're not at all. They're not at all. But the concept of drawing cards and having multiple things to do with them,
Yes,
and,
that is very
and figuring out the maximal way. So there's lots and lots of choices. So you'll always be doing cool things, and there's lots of choices, and you have to try and figure out the best way. Obviously, that's how you win. But there's just the choice, the card draw. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what I meant is that they're not the same game, but they both have cards that are multifunctional.
Yes.
they both have cards.
And they both have leaders and followers.
Yep.
That mechanic is in there as well.
Yes, the leaders and followers is quite important as well. And it's quick again, so it's mega. Like some people don't like the icons, but it's so quick. Just go again.
I was gonna say
It takes about 20 minutes to play, and it's almost perfect game. It takes 20 minutes. That's a wonderful combination.
I had it on the shelf for a long time, and I sold it because I know you own it. But the esoteric symbology, like trying to go back to it and relearn it after a long break.
Once you get it, it's
right.
actually
But if you
intuitive.
get it, like I did, and then it sat on the shelf for like 2 years, and then I come back to it, I'm like, I can't. No, not now.
But
just put it back on the shelf.
It tells you something that literally I've played this game every day for the past 5 years. So that is
wow. Well, you play on the app, right?
No, I play online. And the thing is, if you play it online, it takes 5 minutes. So that's how I can play it every day for 5 years.
Number 2.
My number 2 may not be my number 2 if we do this list later. But right now it is because it's literally the only game system that I really want to play. And that's 18XX.
That's your number 2?
Yeah.
I have no idea what your number 1 is. Goodness me.
I don't know who his number 1 is.
No. I had that down as his number 1.
Yeah, so the 18XX is just... I just love it. I like because every game...
It's spreadsheet the game.
It's
No, I mean, you need a spreadsheet to play the game.
You actually need it.
Actually, when we played it, you actually had
used an
Excel
sheet,
sheet open.
So we knew how much payment we were getting. Anyway, the reason I like it is I like this idea of running a company, but I also like that there's stock manipulation. There's over 100 games. The first one came out in 1979, I think, or 78.
76, I think. It doesn't matter.
Maybe, yeah.
It's definitely an old game.
It's old.
It feels old.
And I don't want to mess up how to say his name, but I think it's Francis Trisham. He also created Civilization,
The game.
the board game, which inspired the video game.
To be stolen from the board game.
Yes. and anyway, what I like about 18XX is that you're just running a train company. You're building a portfolio, you're buying and selling shares, you're running routes, you can block people out of stations and basically make the value of their company plummet.
It is the most realistic train company's simulator, I would say.
It is. It's also, it can be long. There's games
Can be long.
No, I mean, literally, the games that I own are the shortest ones. 1889 is the one that I'm enjoying a lot. 1889, 1846, and 18CZ are all considered short games at like around 4 hours. There are long.
You can do it in 4. Now
4 hours.
That's 4 hours is long, but I didn't realize you can do it in 4.
You can if people know what they're doing.
That's
there you go.
You need to know what you're doing, otherwise it's going to take forever. But there's ones that take like 12 hours. There's one that takes 24 hours. I don't know what.
I'm not one of those guys.
I love it, and I'm going to go to HeavyCon later this year, and which is hosted by Heavy Cardboard, and I intend to play as much 18XX as I can.
The thing, like I said, the quick games, it's a game you have to play it like 20 times in order to get how to play it. And 20 times 4, and before you start playing it properly.
No, you don't need to play it 20 times. You just need to be familiar.
I do it. Because I'm dumb.
No. Like, you just need to be familiar with 18XX as a system, and then understand the MacGuffins of that particular game.
Okay.
Like, what is going to tell the story here? If you know the private companies, then you can kind of.
It is just
go
not.
from there.
It is not for me. I think if I had to play, like, it's too brutal of a train game for me.
It's so nice to be mean.
Anyway, you're number 2. Show me your number 2, Jay.
I'll show you my number 2.
You showed us yours earlier.
My number 2 is If You Study is the third game and final game that was designed by Richard on my top 10 list.
Just plain.
So you should just have you should just be like top 10 Richard Borg.
Well, if you
tired. Okay. Which dick game is it this time?
Oh man. Well, it was designed by
Richard Borg.
Dick Garfield. Same guy who designed Magic. And it is Netrunner. It came out originally in 1996. I played it as a kid, and I absolutely loved it. And then around 2010 or so, I found all the files of this really cool French dude. If you're there, thank you. And I printed out all the cards, sleeved them all, made decks,
and
played with some friends, and then Fantasy Flight. Printed it out in 2011. So on 2010, I was on fire. I was like, that should be a game. That should be a game. That should be a game. And then Fantasy Flight just read my mind and published it.
That's because you're smart, Joe. Fantasy Flight knew what, and you beat Fantasy Flight to the punch.
I will say this though: if you reprint or do your homebrew of any Warhammer Games Workshop Fantasy Flight games, you don't have to worry about it getting reprinted.
That is true. That is true.
I have a question though. So why don't you play it? There is because Netrunner is a LCG that is a very it's very fiddly, and you do have to sort of keep up with it. Why don't you play it more often?
I do play it. I do play it quite a bit.
You do go out to the groups.
Well, again, I have a weird schedule, so I do play occasionally with some local guys. How I play Netrunner now is very different than when I used to. I don't play it as often. There is a learning curve. But I don't find it that fiddly. I think the Android Netrunner is a better game than the 1996 version of Netrunner. Mostly because there are just factions now. Because the original game, there's one corporation and one hacker, and now there are three corps and three hackers and 4 corps. But it's far more dynamic, really easy to play. Actually, I've taught the game before in about 20 minutes, which is about the average for a regular board game. Now when I play Netrunner, it mostly consists of starter decks. So when I introduce someone to the game, we play it, and I balance them out. So it's one of the few games I think that utilizes bluffing as a mechanic really well.
Cool.
And bluffing isn't something that's really there in a lot of board games. And well, to the extent that Netrunner does it. And I think it's heavily thematic. They have terms for everything. They don't call it a draw pile. They call it something else that's related to the theme. Okay. And it feels very thematic. Neuromancer was one of my favorite books growing up as a kid. Netrunner was a great game that I loved. I love the cyberpunk genre.
No, it looks like an interesting game.
No, I think it is the best 2-player card game ever designed. Okay. And Richard Garfield said so too. But that was prior to Hearthstone being released, so his feelings and bank account might have changed since then.
So, do you want to smell my number 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I hate it.
You can guess it. You should be able to guess my number 2. Come on, guys. What's my number 2?
Well, I actually thought your number 2 would be.
Wait, we should be obvious.
I thought it'd be Glory to Rome, honestly.
I thought it would be
think about
Pandemic.
Because none of the other games you went to Europe to take pictures of.
Yeah, that wasn't the only reason I went to Rome.
It was. Admit it.
It was.
I thought Pandemic would be. Oh, is it 1960?
No, but 1960 is on
your short list. Yeah.
Small World.
Oh,
come on, fools!
I forgot. You love that game. You know why? I keep forgetting that you love that game. Every time you tell me, it's like discovering new information.
I love Small World enough.
30 times.
I'm going to make another video because I love Thunderbird, so I'll do a video about that. I love Ticket to Ride, I'll do a video about that. I'm going to do a video ranking all the Small World races, Small World expansions. I've actually already did that, and then they came out with a new expansion, so I have to redo the entire list, which is annoying.
Well, you gotta hurry because Games of Wonders, they just
quite.
It's one of their evergreens, so they'll just constantly.
But in essence, for me, it's very smooth, but it's kind of like a perfect game for me. It's a very straightforward game, but the variation, because the races, the combinations. Again, this is a game I can play every single day.
But
I'll play the app as well, and the game is completely different every time because the race combinations.
Sure.
So the chances of you having even a similar game are very slim, and a similar game would be interesting. If you all had the same races, the game would still be interesting because you're still trying to figure out how to maximize.
It's just not for me. I played the game, I respect it. It's a very well designed game. I really enjoy it. I do enjoy it, and I
think it's on Cell Cube.
It's in my Cell Cube.
Really?
It's just not for me.
The second copy?
It is, but it's very straightforward. Is that?
No, it's very straightforward. It's a really good game, and it's actually one of the first games that had multiple player boards, depending on player count. Like if you have 2 players, use this board. 3 players, use this board. 4, 5.
And there's an expansion where you can play with. You can infinitely. They released an expansion where you can make new maps, so you can even vary that. I mean,
yeah, it's
so
one of the
all
first
good.
games that took scaling into consideration.
So in summary, all the expansions are good. That's why I'm leaning.
I was about to say, it was
all
like, he loves Small World, and in Ed's world, gravity is to his right.
yes, yeah, all the expansions are good. There isn't a single bad expansion. So basically, it's more stuff, and more stuff means more variation, which is more good. So anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Why isn't it for you?
I don't know. It's like I just play it and I just don't like it. Like some people just don't like pizza. I like pizza, but some people don't.
Is it quite? Do you find it too plain?
I don't know. It's just like the idea of like playing tiles.
It is quite mathsy. It's not. I mean, I think it embraces its theme well. It is. I feel like I am like Little God, but it is an addition. It's quite mathsy. It's not a fighting game.
It's not quite.
I mean, it's not a war game.
18
Well, no, mathy in the fact that you have to add stuff up.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, even in my number 2, Netrunner, like you're constantly doing math in your head, like wording like how much does it cost to go here, here, or here.
All right. Well, I mean, I've enjoyed it. I'll play with you.
I enjoy it, but I just don't.
He doesn't like our number 2.
He doesn't like money. You don't want to.
I said I hated it before he even said it because I knew.
He doesn't like our 2s.
Okay.
What was
Yeah,
it?
so-
18xx? Yeah.
So
I
are we doing honourable mentions now or not?
Honourable mentions.
We can do a single sentence without any interruptions. Honourable mentions.
There you go.
All right. Honorable mentions will just be Eclipse for me.
Okay.
Yep. I'd say actually honorable mentions for me would be dungeon crawlers. Like that's one of my favorite genres, and
What's the best
I
one?
don't really have one. Well, we'll talk about that later. But like, I mean, like I haven't played like one game of Gloomhaven, and I love it. But I felt like I haven't played it enough to put it on the list. Also, like Root, it's coming out later this year.
Root is coined, but it's
still also in development, which is why it's not on
Yeah, it's not on my list. But I think like when it does, it might jump up to my top 10. Also, Alien Frontiers, I think, is also on my short list. That is, in a way, you can blame Alien Frontiers for all the Kickstarter shenanigans because it's the first good game that was Kickstarted. Because before then, they were just kind of, but that was the first one. Like, oh no, good games can come from good Kickstarter.
So my honourable mention was actually 1960 Making the President as an honourable mention, but we talked about that. The Star Wars LCG is an honourable mention. That is a very smooth, that is, I think, the best LCG personally, because I think it's smooth and sort of interesting. But again, the problem is that Joel, I just go play Joel and he just beats me. So it can't rank because I just lose all the time. If I lose, I'm so bad at the game, I lose to newbies. So. But my other honourable mention is Networks.
Oh, that was fun.
Networks is
Designed by Gil Hova.
Yeah, it's a game about you're trying to run a network, you're trying to program TV shows, and that just the mechanics of making television I find is interesting. So it's a perfect theme, but there's a really interesting strategic game on top of it.
And the art looks great.
Yes, and it transfers. The joke doesn't run out because it's generic. So the game's about like making movies, and they've got familiar names. And although there is that, they're very generic. There's like grizzled veteran rather than specific names, so the joke doesn't wear thin.
Yeah, I do have one more honorable mention. It's Tramways, and that's because it's mean.
A mean train game.
A mean
wow!
Train game.
You're so interesting.
It's the bidding. The bidding for cards is just mean, and I love it. And that's it. All right, number one.
Number one.
I don't have to look at this because I know what it is.
You do?
It hasn't changed during this video. And my number one, and it has been for a while now, is An Infamous Traffic from Hellenspiel. Designed by Cole Worley, and he is the designer of Root, which you mentioned earlier, and I like.
You like him, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've talked to him on Twitter. He's nice. But the thing is he's kind. If you're watching, Cole, you're a nice guy.
I'm sure you are, Cole. I love you.
I haven't met you, but I like some of your games.
I haven't met him either, but he might be at HeavyCon. And I will try to game with him or not.
Stop
Anyway,
it.
An Infamous Traffic, the reason I like An Infamous Traffic is Edmund has been hammering this point home repeatedly, is what makes a mean game great is when it's short so you can play it again. And I think the rules overhead for An Infamous Traffic is relatively low. I've taught it to people. They don't get it. A lot of people think it's opaque because you don't just get to do something immediately. You have to invest in a thing and then wait around. But
That makes sense. Makes
But
sense.
some people
Very, very
some
simple.
people do define it as opaque. I don't necessarily, but neither do you. But
It's not a pretty game.
I think it's gorgeous.
I think I like the look of it. I mean, it has to be
Cole,
relatively
don't listen to
functional.
him.
I like
Cole
the
the
look
graphic
of it.
design, you jerk. No, anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't. I'm not saying that it makes it a bad game, but it's not a pretty game.
It's interesting
Well,
because
I
I
think
think
it's a
it's
good
absolutely pretty.
I do. I
Yeah,
like it.
exactly. I played it this morning solo before I came over here,
I saw the tweet.
and I was mean to myself.
I
liked it.
played Small World solo this morning. Did you
You
play
said-
your number one solo?
I played the game of making coffee and buying groceries.
That's life.
What?
So his number one game is life. Just
Adulting win.
back to an Infamous Traffic. What I like is that you are completing supply lines to get revenue, which allows you to take actions. Your actions are based on how much revenue you have, but you can take these conspiracies at the top to throw police down and break up those supply chains. You immediately lose the revenue. So what I like is that the revenue you have, your money, is always like in the moment.
Yeah.
As soon as you lose a supply chain, you have to go negative for what you lose. Those pieces are not removed permanently. They actually go back to your holdings so you can reuse them. But I bought this game twice. I bought it and sold it so that I could get the, during Christmas, Hollandspiel offered punchboard quality ledgers for each company. And
Have
I
I
was
seen
like,
the
I
new
want that.
version?
No, you haven't. It has different dice too, and different cubes. My cubes used to be blue, now they're orange. My dice used to be ugly
You
white.
color your
Monopoly
cube. You
ones.
color your cube.
No,
do you,
no.
Do you shave your cube?
Just
No.
admitted that it was ugly.
Cubes. No,
Part of the game.
I didn't say it was ugly.
It's okay, fine. I guess
Where
so.
did
Someone could
ugly
be.
come from?
You just said ugly cubes.
No, I
Move on,
said
move on.
other cubes
Oh.
because Hollandspiel literally puts what they have around, and my dice are different. The dice were ugly. They
I'm
were
planning
Monopoly
to the
dice.
gravity shifts to already
Anyway.
ugly, I guess.
In conclusion, they just recently the prizes, they had a manufacturer issue with it because sometimes it would have white lines on the back so you could tell what they were. So they made cards, and I'm considering buying the cards to upgrade my game.
Okay.
Love it.
It is a lot of fun. Before I get into it, I wanted to ask you guys, how long have you guys been in the hobby?
I guess. I mean, I played a lot of games when I was a kid with my mom and siblings, but really more in the hobby than like permanently in the hobby about 7-ish years.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, because we've referenced this. I got into the hobby, that game of June we were talking about,
Really?
that day in 2011, that was the first time I met you guys. And there's a bunch of other stories about that day as well. So that game
That
of
was a
June
great
has gone
game.
down in legend because that game got me into the hobby.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. That's
So-
fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
So
had that.
7 years. That was 7 years ago.
Okay.
We are old.
Yeah, I mean, I played games a lot as a kid, but I've been in the hobby for a long time. Like even back in the '90s when Z-Man was making just card games. That's all they made was card games. I still remember those. And I bought them and I played them. And my number one, I think, reflects that. The first time I fell in love with a board game was when I was a kid, and I snuck into my brother's closet, and I picked up the 1984 Mystery Mansions game made by Milton Bradley, I believe.
Okay.
And he didn't have the instructions for it. Pieces were missing, but you're going through a mansion, finding treasure, and I had so much fun with it as a kid, making my own rules and looking at the cards, trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game, isn't it? I know.
No, but my number one surprised me that it's a co-op dungeon crawl, and that's Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. Is my
Okay.
favorite game, and it's highly thematic, strong story. I love the app integration, so there's no DM.
Do you like it? Do you prefer it solo or with people?
I'm surprised it's number 2. I'm just.
This is number one.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, me
more
too. I
surprised.
didn't.
I actually thought Eclipse might be your number 1 because
No,
how
because-
often you want to play that game.
I think it's also personal to me as
Yeah,
well
I
because
know,
it reminds me of like my after my
Yeah.
brother passed away a few years ago. I had to go home and sell everything in the house because I live here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And I'm going through his closet and I find his old copy of Mystery Mansions that had like, and I was thinking, oh, I should keep this for nostalgia purposes. And I opened it up and there were cockroaches inside. I'm like, no.
Maybe not.
But that would fit right in Taiwan.
But it's not a cockroach infested place. Please don't think that. But it's Mystery Mansions is it's highly thematic. Every time I played it, people love it. They get into the game. someone always goes crazy, and it always makes the game fun. It is my favorite game, and I play it solo and I play it with people. I enjoy both. I think if I play it solo, you get more into it because everything's there.
And you can like have romantic mood lighting.
It's nice to play it with people because you can get into it.
When I first got into the hobby, I wanted to get this game, and then I went to the store and I bought it at the shop. It took like all my paycheck, and it was the first edition. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is 3 to 5 players. I was like, I'm my only friend. And they let me exchange it, and I grabbed I think Mage Knight instead.
Yeah, if you are thinking about getting this game, never get the first edition. The second edition is
the app
better.
works.
The app makes it phenomenal because the first one, like, you have a puzzle and then you have to pause the game and set up the puzzle and then work it out. But the problem is that you could make, if the DM makes one mistake,
it's
setting
over.
up the game. Yeah, it's over. You can't win it.
Yep.
Not saying that the second edition I've won many games because I've lost quite a few.
Sure.
But I think this is one of those games where I enjoy losing as much as I do winning.
Okay.
Ed?
My number 1. In unison, please.
Twilight Imperium 4.
Yes, you got it.
I'm like, this is 4.
The difference between my number 1 and my number 2 is huge. Basically,
It's not back there.
Twilight Imperium is everything I want in a board game. So the first, I really like Civ. I really like Sid Meier's Civ game, but it does the 4X thing enough for me. It does Civ games enough for me. It's basically everything I want in a board game. So it's also, yeah, thank you.
Gravity's here.
So there's no question that the fourth. So we can skip the fourth edition better than the third. The fourth edition is third edition. Everything the third edition has, but shorter. So there's no question fourth edition.
I will say this: I've known that Twilight Imperium is your favorite game. You're always inviting everybody to play this epic game, and I use epic in quotations for the third edition because to me it felt only epic in terms of length. Because,
no. Because very clunky third edition.
Right, but the fourth edition, like we recently played it. We played it with 6 players, which was a little too many. I think 4 would be ideal. We played it in a very loud place, so a lot of us were getting exhausted from the noise, pollution.
What?
But my thing is I actually enjoyed my time, and I thought about Twilight Imperium after playing it for the first time ever, and this was the 5th time I've ever played Twilight Imperium. I honestly want to play 4th edition more often. Like, I would be down for playing once a month.
I play it, yeah.
I didn't say he'd want to play my game.
Oh,
what was your
my
number
game's
one?
better. Well, my game it's quite heavy and intense, and in terms of, but I think
it's not as mean as other games, but
yes, because it delivers everything. If I'm going to spend time learning how to play a game, Twilight Imperium is it.
It's no, we played that last Sunday.
That was not a good example of a game because
I thought it was. I won. That's the best example of a game. I agree that I think I like 4th a lot more than 3rd. Mostly because 3rd, after all the expansions came out, it felt like there were all these fiddly bits, and the designers.
No question, 4th's better.
Yeah, the designers like, oh, here's a toolkit for a game. Just kind of make your own game, and I kind of dislike that. Whereas 4, it seems like they took what worked and what didn't work, and they smoothed everything out.
Yep. And there's nothing missing in 4th. Nothing.
And it felt fine. Like, I feel like you could not get any expansion for 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it'd be totally fine. I could be.
There's 14 factions, right?
Yeah, something like that.
14 factions. So you're teching up, you're taking resources, you're making ships. There's even the space. This politics is good.
The politics are actually good in 4th. In 3rd, I didn't think they were that interesting. In 4th, they're actually cool. I like it. I would play this with you once a month.
So that might sound awfully boring, but I'm jumping on that bandwagon because, like I said, it has everything for me. Everything I want in a game is Twilight Imperium. And it's in space.
That's the space. Space, I think, was the winning theme for all our.
Yeah.
I love space. Yeah, there was a bunch of other space games that I have recently purchased that I haven't had a chance to play, and I'm like, I want to play.
All right, we've been talking for ages.
Let's
shut
All
up.
right. Anyway, thanks for
that
watching.
was our top 10.
Yep.
We've been Double Down Dice. We still are Double Down Dice.
Yes.
We will continue to be Double Down.
Yes.
That's good to know.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Cheers.